Hey guys, Kelade here. As you guys have seen in my last video, Blizzard are making changes to Fury Warriors right now on the PTR. Last night I was able to get on and test a lot of the changes and do some more sims today. So let's just hop right in and look at what's different. So Blizzard was able to change the talent effect on Soul of the Battlelord to be, instead of giving us Carnage, it now gives us Massacre, which of course, I would have liked them to give us Frothing Berserker instead, but it is an okay change. Essentially, it makes this ring really, really good in execute phases, but you guys will see that it's still not as strong when you're not execute phase, of course, because the Massacre for us does nothing from 100 to 20% of the fight. Another big change that Blizzard has made since then is they've added a new legendary to pretty much every single spec. For Fury Warriors, we get this pants called Valajar Berserkers. Now, these pants are really, really strong. Rampage critical strikes generate 6 rage. Now, Rampage hits the target 5 times, so every single one of those 5 hits, for every crit that they do, they will give you 6 rage. So every time you use Rampage on your warrior now, you have a chance to generate an extra, 6 to 30 extra rage, depending on how lucky you get with the crits. Of course, if you're going to be using Rampage and Battlecry, that's an automatic 30 extra rage whenever you use Rampage, just from this one legendary alone. Not only that, but currently on the PTR, I'm sure Blizzard might change this, but we'll see how it comes out. All the meat cleavered Rampage strikes all count for this. So if you're meat cleaving on the 5 targets and you're casting a Rampage, all of those 25 hits of Rampage all have a chance to give you a 6 rage whenever they crit. So if you're in Battlecry, with at least 4 or more targets, you're going to fill up to 100 rage every time with a meat cleavered Rampage. So this legendary is really, really strong right now, and it can actually rival what the helmet can do for us in terms of rage generation. Now, of course, the helmet is still going to be the more stable option for rage generation because you're always going to get an 8 rage when you're in rage. Whereas the pants, you could actually get 0 extra rage if none of your Rampage hits crit. So let's move on to kind of the tier changes between tier 19 and tier 20. Now, with tier 20, right now, you're still very likely going to be using the same talent setup with Inner Rage, because on the PTR right now, when you change from Frenzy to Inner Rage talent, the tier piece bonus actually changes. If you have Frenzy as a talent, your 4 piece changes to give you 20% extra damage for each Raging Blow cast you do for Bloodthirst. Whereas if you have Inner Rage, that damage percentage for every stack you do is actually changed to 50%. So you definitely are still going to stick with Inner Rage. The tier piece works very well with Inner Rage, but of course, unfortunately, the tier piece doesn't do much for your execute phase. A lot of damage is going to be kind of front loaded between the 100 to 20% part of the fight, and your execute phase is really just relying on you building enough Juggernaut stacks to kind of catch back up in DPS essentially. Now, as you guys can see on these sims that I've run, I want you to guys just take a big picture of these sims, right? A good way to read this list that I've done for the sims is that the first 2 letters after PTR are the legendaries that I use, right? Either I use the legendary helmet, or I use the legendary pants, or I use the new legendary massacre ring, right? So you got H, P, and R as kind of like the prefix right after PTR. And then you have the 4 piece, whether it's tier 20 or it's tier 19. And then you have the trinket that I use afterwards. So the DOS that I use is the one that I currently have on live, which is the 910 Mythic Draft of Souls. And then you have Toxic Cinders, Engine, Leviathan, Spectre, Cradle, Moonglaves, and those are going to be your trinkets that you get from Tomb of Sargeras. And let's quickly go over all the trinkets first, right? There's going to be a total of 7 new trinkets that drop from the raid. First, you have Vial of Ceaseless Toxins. It's a strange trinket that you can put a dot on an enemy for 20 seconds, and if the die was active, the cooldown is reduced by a certain amount of time. Next, you have Cradle of Anguish. This is essentially a glorified haze slash string stat stick. The way that this works is that as long as you stay above 50% HP in an encounter, you will have an extra however many strength that the trinket gives you. Now, I know this used to be 80% HP, but currently on the PTR, you only have to stay above 50% HP to not lose the buff. And the good thing about the buff is that it calculates and it keeps stacking up before you enter combat. So every time you start a fight, you always have max stacks of this trinket. Next, you have Umbra Moonglaze. This is essentially going to be our AoE trinket that comes from the raid. It's very similar to the way that Windscar Whetstone works. Essentially, you just use it and it does AoE. You want to use it during Battlecry. Of course, the one problem here is that it lasts 8 seconds, so you're going to get a little bit of it, not be buffed by Battlecry, but this trinket at the same eye level still does more damage than an equal eye level Windscar Whetstone. So this is going to be a very, very good AoE trinket. Next, you have Spectre of Betrayal. It's a strange trinket that allows you to place a Dread Reflection on the ground, and then when you place it, it gets used and it does damage to the target. over 3 seconds. Of course, all those 3 seconds can be built by Battlecry, so ideally you want to use your Spectre Betrayal with Battlecry. Now, currently, the way that this trinket works is that the Dread Reflections that you place on the ground last for a whole minute, but the trinket itself only has 45 seconds. So if you're able to use your second uses of Spectre before the first one falls off and after the 45 seconds that it takes for the trinket to refresh, so between that 45-second to 1 minute window, if you use it again, it'll actually do double the damage because the reflection that you put down from the first time will actually get used again. You always want to use it almost as soon as possible, and if your battle cry is close enough, you almost want to save your battle cry to make sure that it lines up with Spectre, before that 1 minute is up, so you can have double the damage coming out of Spectre. Now, of course, if your target moves, if the boss moves halfway across the room, then that wouldn't really matter. Next, you have Leviathan's Hunger. It's a haste trinket that reduces their movement speed and does damage over 8 seconds. And you're also healed by 300% of the damage. This is an okay trinket. I mean, it's kind of one of those, you just use it with some other battle cry and you kind of forget about it. With a 1 minute and 30-second cooldown, you don't really interact with this trinket as much, right? This trinket has a longer cooldown than Wrath of Souls. And all of the trinkets so far that we're going to talk about in, Tomb of Sargeras, they're all off the global cooldown, right? So not like Wrath of Souls, your battlecry windows are essentially always going to be the same now. Next, you have Infernal Cinders. This trinket has changed a few times on the PTR, but in the current iteration has crit as a stat on it, and it's just a proc-based trinket. It works very similarly to how Potion of the Old War and our neck enchant Hidden Satyr works. Just as you attack the enemy, there's a chance that it procs and it does damage. That's essentially what this trinket does. But the good thing about this trinket is that the critical strike chance of this damage is increased by 10% for each ally within 10 yards who wears this item. So if you have 9 to 10 other raiders in your group, you're going to have 100% crit hit chance on the trinket, even if you don't have Battlecry. Currently, these sims that you're looking at, the trinket is only with me by myself. So the value of Cinders can definitely go up as you get more people in the group to have the Cinders with you. So you guys can see right here, it's actually the second best trinket right now in my sims. So I can imagine that if I just had a couple more people with Cinders standing next to me for the fight, this could very well be, our best trinket. But of course, a proc-based trinket like this is always subject to RNG. If it procs during Battlecry, when you have all your buffs up, great, we're going to do massive damage. If it never procs during Battlecry, it always procs when you don't have Battlecry, your DPS for that fight is going to be low, right? The next trinket is called Engine Eradication. It has Mastery as a stat on it, and it works very, very similarly to Concordance of the Legion Fall. Essentially, whenever you attack, you have a chance to proc the buff, and it'll give you a set amount of strength based on, what eye level your trinket is for 12 seconds. Now, it'll also drop 4 additional orbs that you can pick up, and each one of those orbs will give you 3 more seconds on the buff. So you guys will see in the video, when I hit the mob, there's going to be orbs that fall out, and if you collect all 4, essentially the time will be doubled, right? Instead of just having only 12 seconds from the proc, you can extend that to 24 seconds if you grab all of the orbs. So for all these trinkets, you guys see the sim results, but actually just me using the trinket itself, I actually like using Engine Eradication the best, at least for when I'm solo DPSing. I'm sure that, once we get into raid group and more people already pick up Cinders because it drops from the first boss of the raid. A lot of your raid members are going to be easily able to pick up as many Cinders as you guys hopefully can, since it is going to be a boss that I think most people are able to kill within the first week. So those are the 7 trinkets that are in Tomb of Sargeras. You guys can see the sims. It definitely looks pretty promising, and let me point out 2 extra things that are in these sims, right? So you have a line called, you guys can see kind of in the upperish middle, you guys have Kelade live, and that's how much DPS I'm sitting for right now on the live servers, and that's the only live servers on this entire sim. Everything else in the sim is all PTR. You guys have right there, if you go down like 10 more places or something like that, you guys see Kelade PTR. That's with me taking my live gear and just putting on the PTR and seeing how much I do. You guys can see that my DPS has dropped around 4 to 5%, just going from straight live and when the patch hits. A lot of that is because of how weak Wrath of Souls is going to be. And now another thing I want to mention for this is that you guys only see 1 trinket there. For all these sims, I am still using my 910 Convergence as my other trinket. Blizzard hasn't really announced any changes for this trinket right now, so at least starting off in the tomb is still going to be a very, very, very strong trinket for us. So another thing is, I think another people question to have is how strong is going to be, mixing tier pieces with 4-piece and 2-piece. The biggest thing is 4-piece plus 2 piece is very likely dead because we're going to want to use the helmet and pants because they generate so much threat for us, right? That's how tier 20 can come out on top, even though, we're going to be losing a lot of enrage uptime with tier 19 or not having tier 19, but we're generating so much rage. You're going to be casting so many rampages that you're just going to get enraged even more with the helmet and the pants. The rage generation is actually through the roof with those two legendaries. So you really, really want those three legendaries, and you really don't have that much leniency in which slots in your gear you can put tier pieces on, right? Because you're going to have your helmet and your pants slot occupied. So the only other places that you can even wear tier pieces is going to be your shoulders, cloak, chest, and gloves. You have low leniency in where you wear tier pieces. Now, of course, if there's ever a fight where you're going to have really, really long execute phase, then the Massacre Ring could come into play, since with the Massacre Ring, you're going to be able to generate your Juggernaut stacks much faster because you're wasting less time in casting Fear Slash and Bloodthirst, where essentially with the Massacre Ring, you can get away with only hitting Execute and Rampage, as long as you have regular procs of Massacre, of course. Now, some people have also asked me, oh, how does the Execute Ring do with the Massacre Ring? Doesn't do that well. And the reason why being is the same reason why the Execute Ring still isn't that great on live, is that unless Blizzard increases the proc rate of the Execute Ring, it's just not enough. You just don't get enough procs with the Execute Ring to be worth it. And not only that, even with the Execute Ring procs, you still need the Massacre to proc. So for me, for testing it, when I was testing the combos between the legendary rings, I probably got just one free Massacre within a 2-minute fight. And that's very little. Only one Massacre proc. Now, of course, I've gotten a couple more Execute procs, but to only get one Massacre proc, it is not that great of a combo. So that's why you're going to stick with the helmet and the pants, and you want to hold on to your tier 19 4 piece, of course. And then eventually, once you're able to, swap all your gear, you want to swap it all at once. Now, if your eye level is so high, you could try to mix 2-piece and 2-piece, but generally the 4-piece of tier 20 is actually pretty strong. I think a lot of people can be deceived by how much damage that it can increase for you, but especially with Inner Rage, how each Raging Blow increases the damage of Bloodthirst by 50%, it definitely is a really good boost to our damage. So essentially, if you guys are going to get anything from this video, it is how strong the Legendary Pants are going to be. If you guys haven't gotten all your Legendaries for Fury Warriors yet, I urge you to try to get as many Legendaries as you can, so that way when patch 7.2.5 comes out, you can try to get the Legendary Pants as soon as you can, because it is going to be a very, very strong Legendary, and you definitely want to have that as soon as possible. And then you, of course, want to work on your tier 24 piece, which you know what pieces you're going to have because you have the helmet and the pants already. And as far as for the trinkets I think that you guys should watch out for, and try to get a hold of is Toxins, Cinders, Engines, Leviathans, Spectres, and Moonglaves. The Cradle is not really that great. It's just a stat stick. Even with 100% uptime, which isn't reasonable in all the fights, even with 100% uptime, the Cradle still does not do that well. So that definitely is a trinket that I think needs a little bit of tuning. But the other trinkets that you guys see at the top of this list, I think you guys should try to go for, and the difference isn't even that much. So I hope this video was helpful in getting you guys prepared and knowing what to expect once patch 7.2.5 comes out, and then once Sargeras comes out with the new trinkets. We're definitely going to be slightly weaker the instant patch 7.2.5 hits, but once you get the new legendaries, the new legendary pants, once you get tier 20 pieces, and once you get the new trinkets to replace Wrath of Souls, it's definitely going to be an improvement to our DPS, and you guys are still going to be doing drastic amounts of damage. I think Fury Warriors are just going to be fine, and we're still going to be dumpstering everybody in Sargeras. As always, thanks for checking out this video, guys. Let me know if this has helped you guys in what you guys have expected. Is there anything else on the PTR or any upcoming changes of Fury Warriors that you guys have questions about? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you guys want to see more specific things about, how I made the Sims and what I did to get the Sims, come ask me. Either tweet your question at me, ask me on Discord, or you guys can even check out my website, furywarrior.com. Oh, I want to give a huge shout out to all the warriors that came onto the PTR and helped me DPS the dummy, so that way I can get it into execute phase whenever I needed to. Definitely appreciate everybody's help that came onto my stream yesterday and helped me DPS this guy down. I want to give a shout out to 2 of my followers on Twitch, Fearless Fart and the Dead Octopus. Thank you guys for helping me out throughout the entire night, actually. As always, thank you guys for checking out the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel to see more content. See ya.